Hey everybody, so it's Sunday, which means it's time for NHL Games of the Week, where I look ahead at the upcoming week in the NHL and pick out which games I think will be the best ones to watch. Before we get into the video, I just quickly want to remind everyone to please hit that like button and give the video a thumbs up. It is greatly appreciated. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and follow along for all my hockey content this season and all year round. So there are a lot of games of the week this week, especially towards the end of the week. We are going from today, November 24th, through Saturday, November 30th. And let me tell you, there are a lot of really great matchups this week. So let's get into it so this doesn't take too long. Starting with today, the 24th, we have Edmonton versus Arizona. Oilers and Coyotes are the top two teams in the Pacific Division right now. Don't think anyone was expecting that at the beginning of the year, but they're both off to great starts, having really good seasons, and that's going to be a heck of a Pacific Division matchup there between two teams that are looking to surprisingly make the playoffs this year. Moving on to tomorrow, the 25th, we have Buffalo versus the Tampa Bay Lightning. Obviously, Tampa Bay has not gotten off to the start that we really expected them to. Buffalo got off to a really good start. Now they've been really bad again in November. This is a huge test for Buffalo. They've already lost to Tampa Bay twice already this month, so we'll see how that game goes, but that should be a good one in the Atlantic Division. And Nashville versus St. Louis is also tomorrow night. They just played last night. They'll play again tomorrow night. Division rivalry there. Teams that do not like each other at all. And Nashville's been pretty disappointing this season, although they did just beat St. Louis last night. So, obviously, big divisional game. Nashville's trying to improve their record. St. Louis is trying to stay up at near the top of the Western Conference. So that will be a very hard-fought and bitter battle, I think, between those two teams. Moving on now, we have Tuesday, the 26th. We've got Boston versus Montreal. I mean, it's Bruins, Canadiens, the greatest rivalry in the history of sports, in my opinion. I don't think it needs anything more than that. Also, both teams happen to be pretty good this year. Boston is, leading the Atlantic Division. Montreal is up there in the top three. Montreal hasn't been playing all that well as of late, however. So we'll see how that game goes. Montreal's already beaten Boston this season, so we'll see if the Bruins can enact some revenge on their arch rival. But it's Bruins Canadiens. It's a game of the week every time. Dallas versus Chicago, Central Division matchup there. Dallas has really, really come on strong after their kind of disappointing first few weeks of the season. They've looked like a completely new team here the last month or so, and they are just tearing it up right now. So in Chicago's kind of floundering around 500. They haven't really been able to get any momentum to move up in the standings. They're a team that wants to potentially make the playoffs, at least as a wild card team. And given how they've looked so far this year, I don't really see that happening. But that should be a good Central Division matchup. Let's see. The 27th, Wednesday the 27th, we have Florida versus Washington. Not a divisional matchup, but I still think a very, very good game and a fun matchup to watch. Washington, obviously, we all know how great they've been this season. Florida also playing really, really well up there with Boston near the top of the Atlantic Division. And Florida's finding ways to win games despite giving up a lot of goals. And, Washington, we know, can score a lot of goals. So that should be a fun game to watch. Should be a big-time battle and potentially pretty high scoring. And also Vegas versus Nashville that night. Obviously, that's a battle of, two teams that were on my Western Conference disappointment list from yesterday. Neither team's off to the start that we really expected them to be, but here's a chance to play each other. Two teams that over the past couple of years have been near the top of the conference, not having great starts this year, but now they're going to get a chance to play each other and possibly pick up some points. Thursday, the 28th, is Thanksgiving here in the United States. There's only one game on the schedule for that game, and it's nothing for that day, and it's nothing special. So moving on to the 29th, here's where we start to get a lot of really, really great matchups. Friday the 29th, we have New York Rangers versus the Boston Bruins in the afternoon for the Thanksgiving Showdown game on NBC. That's going to be a heck of a matchup. Anytime Boston and New York plays each other, no matter how good or bad each team is, when the Bruins and Rangers play, it tends to be a really fun, exciting game to watch. So that's definitely a game of the week this week. Toronto versus Buffalo, another big test for the Buffalo Sabres. I did that video earlier in the year at the end of October saying how tough their month of November is. They've got Tampa Bay early in the week. Now they've got Toronto at the end of the week. That's going to be an interesting game, and Toronto's playing much, much better under Sheldon Keefe. I know it's only been 2 games, but they look like a completely different team under Sheldon Keefe. So that coaching change appears to be working out really well. We also have Tampa Bay versus Washington. Oh, what a matchup. Anytime the Lightning and Capitals play, I mean, if you watched them play last year, those games were bloodbaths. Those teams absolutely hate each other for not being in the same division. And it's just two of the 2 top teams with tons of talent going at it. And they also can bring the physicality as well. So that's an incredibly good matchup. Arizona versus Vegas. Arizona near the top of the Pacific Division, having a very, very good start to the season. Vegas not having a great start to the season. They're been pretty disappointing in my mind. This was a big test for the Golden Knights to see if they can start picking up some big wins and climbing the standings and getting back towards those top 2 or 3 spots out in the Pacific and being the team that I expected them to be. And finally, you can barely see it down here, but St. Louis versus Dallas also play that night, and obviously huge Central Division matchup there by 2 of the top teams in the Central Division. Really, really fun rivalry matchup there. And Dallas, just has been on fire lately. St. Louis, no Stanley Cup hangover for the Blues. They're still right near the top of that at the top of that division. So, that should be a really fun one. And lastly, we have Saturday, November 30th, the last day of November, and some great hockey games on that night as well. We have the New York Rangers versus the New Jersey Devils. Obviously, neither of those teams has been absolutely, spectacular this year. They're both near the bottom of the division standings, but it's a division rivalry. It's going to be a fun game no matter what, and a big 2 points on the line. Both of those teams really want those 2 points to see, help move them up the standings. Buffalo versus Toronto again, the second night of a home and home. They play obviously on the Friday. They play on Saturday as well. Nothing more to say about that. Everything I said about it the first time still applies. San Jose versus Arizona. I've mentioned Arizona a lot. They have a big week this week. This is a big week for the Arizona Coyotes. They've got a lot of divisional games against good teams, and they're playing San Jose. San Jose is not off to the greatest start, but been playing much better as of late. They had a really bad October. They've been much better in November. So we'll see if San Jose can climb the standings, or does Arizona stay near the top? And are they for real? Are the Arizona Coyotes for real and going to stay near the top of the division? This is a big game. They've got Vegas the night before and then San Jose the night after. Those are 2 big games for sure. And lastly, Vancouver versus Edmonton. Edmonton, obviously, surprisingly, one of the best teams out in the West right now and leading that division. And then Vancouver, another playoff team from the Pacific Division. They're off to a pretty good start this year. That'll be a really good matchup between Canadian rivals, division rivals, and teams that need those 2 points badly to keep themselves near the top of the standings. So, big week this week in the NHL. It's Thanksgiving week in the U.S., but there are a lot of great matchups, a lot of great hockey to watch, especially on the 29th and 30th. There are just loads of games for you guys to watch. So those are the games of the week. Hopefully you get the chance to watch some of them. I know I'll be watching as many of those as I possibly can. But with that, like, comment, share, subscribe, follow on social media. All those links are down in the description below. If you'd like to further support the channel, the links to our Patreon and merchandise store are down in the description as well. Keep spreading the word about this channel. Let's keep this thing growing. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll talk to you guys soon.